on September 11th, 2001, the world changed in fire and steel. Smoke swallowed the sky. Sirens became the language of the day. And inside 2 burning towers, thousands of people were trying to understand if they were about to live or die. But this story isn't about the planes. It isn't about the politics. It isn't even about the buildings. It's about 2 guide dogs who walked straight through hell and refused to leave their humans behind. This is the story of Salty and Roselle. But on that day, they were the guides of hell. Salty was a yellow Labrador. Strong, calm, unshakable. He was the guide dog for Omar Rivera, who worked in the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Roselle was also a yellow Labrador. Gentle, focused, disciplined. She guided Michael Hingson, who worked in the South Tower. These dogs weren't pets. They weren't emotional support. They were highly trained professionals. They were their humans' eyes, their safety, their confidence in a world designed for sight. And on that morning, they were about to become something more. 8:46 a.m. A sound like thunder tore through the North Tower. The building shuddered. The floor swayed like water. Omar Rivera felt the impact before he understood it. But Salty didn't panic. He planted his feet. He stayed calm. Because panic spreads. And guide dogs are trained to stop panic before it starts. Across the plaza, in the South Tower, Michael Hingson felt the same violent jolt moments later. People screamed. Phones rang. Fire alarms wailed. Roselle did not react. No barking, no pulling, no fear, just focus. Because when everything breaks, discipline becomes courage. The lights went out. Smoke poured into the stairwells. The air grew thick and hot. People rushed. Some froze. Some prayed. Some ran the wrong way. And in the middle of the chaos, 2 blind men placed their lives completely in the paws of their dogs. No second guesses. No hesitation. Only trust. Michael clipped Roselle's harness and gave the command. Forward. And she walked. Not fast. Not slow. Steady. The stairwell was packed with people. Firefighters pushing upward. Civilians pushing downward. Everyone covered in dust, sweat, and fear. Roselle threaded them through like water finding cracks in stone. Michael couldn't see the smoke, but he could smell it. Feel it burn his lungs. Hear people coughing, crying, collapsing. Roselle never wavered. She stopped at landings, waited, checked for obstacles, then moved again. Because her job was not speed. Her job was survival. Omar and Salty began their descent from the North Tower. More than 70 floors. In darkness. In smoke. with heat crawling up the walls like something alive. People were panicking. Some tried to grab Salty. Some tried to pull Omar. Some begged him to leave the dog behind. Leave him behind. But Omar refused. Because you don't abandon your eyes. You don't abandon your partner. You don't abandon the one thing that is keeping you alive. Salty felt Omar's tension and slowed. Guide dogs are trained for this. They don't mirror fear. They counter it. Salty set the pace. Not Omar. Not the crowd. The dog was in charge now. Step after step. Floor after floor. Smoke so thick people were vomiting. Dust so heavy it coated tongues and lungs. Roselle guided Michael past people sitting against walls, unable to continue. Past bodies. Past silence that felt heavier than sound. Michael later said he trusted her completely because she was steady. Steadiness in a collapsing world is bravery. Minutes felt like hours. Every vibration made the towers groan. Every noise could be the last. Firefighters touched the dogs as they passed. Not for comfort, but for hope. If the dogs were calm, maybe everything wasn't lost yet. Michael and Roselle exited the South Tower, just minutes before it collapsed. They reached the street. The air was thick. The sky was black. People were screaming to run. And Roselle walked forward anyway. Not toward danger. Away from it. She guided him blocks away. Until they were safe. Then, only then, did she finally shake. Not from fear. From release. Omar and Salty escaped the North Tower shortly after. They had walked through falling debris, through fire, through smoke. Moments after they cleared the building, the tower collapsed behind them. Salty never looked back, because his job wasn't to understand the destruction. It was to keep moving. 2 men lived, because 2 dogs did not break. Not when everything else did. In the aftermath, Salty and Roselle were recognized as heroes. They received medals. They were honored by presidents, firefighters, and service organizations. But they didn't understand applause, or ceremonies, or history. They only understood one thing. They were asked to guide. And they guided. No ego, no hesitation, no choice. Just duty. Salty later passed away peacefully, years after the attacks. So did Roselle. They lived full lives. They continued to guide. They continued to serve. They never knew they were famous. They never knew they were legends. They only knew they did their job. And maybe that's the lesson. Courage isn't always loud. It isn't always armed. It isn't always human. Sometimes courage has fur and a harness and walks into smoke without asking why. Salty and Roselle didn't change the world. They didn't stop history, but they proved something deeper. That in the worst moment humanity can create, there can still exist something pure. Thanks for watching. Join me next week for more. And remember, ideas are bulletproof.